Spoiler warning. The following discussion will contain spoilers. We recommend checking out the movie first, then coming back to hang with us. But if you don't care about that, glad to have you here. All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of The Real Review. My name's Kevin.
And I'm Joe.
And we are The Real Movie Guys. It's February, so that means all this month we'll be celebrating the real season of love. The Real Season of Love is a celebration of romantic comedies and Valentine's Day must-watches. On today's episode, we're going to be taking a look at Always Be My Maybe. Everyone assumes Sasha and Marcus would wind up together, except for Sasha and Marcus. Reconnecting after 15 years, the two start to wonder, maybe?
Or maybe not.
Maybe not. John, are you familiar with Ali Wong or Randall Park?
I've heard of Ali Wong just because she's a comedian, and I've seen like her stuff on Netflix. Well, I've never watched her stuff, but I've seen it like come up. I like to watch like stand-up comedy.
Right.
And I always see her thing, but I've never watched it. But I've never heard of the other guy. No.
Really? Never heard of Randall Park? See, I'm kind of the opposite, actually. Ali Wong, I know from you, right? I know that I've seen her on the Netflix. She's always in the scrolling part. Whenever I come up there, she's always coming up. I literally think she has like 10 Netflix specials. I could be wrong. I could be, who knows? But Randall Park, on the other hand, I actually really like Randall Park. He was in Ant-Man and Wasp. He's in the Marvel Universe. He's Jimmy Woo. He's also in WandaVision, which we'll be talking about later this month. He's actually a pretty big character.
Oh, okay.
He shows up in a lot of weird things. I think he was in Aquaman. People might best know him from the show Fresh Off the Boat, which is about a family that comes to the United States, and it's about their life and everything that they're going through. Ironically, also, the director of this film, she was actually... She directed a couple episodes, and she's a producer off Fresh Off the Boat. So you can tell she's really in, she's one with the Asian culture and whatnot, so she kind of understands where they're coming from. I can appreciate that. I definitely can. What I can't appreciate, though, is this movie. I didn't really have a good time at all, to be 100% honest with you. Where did you stand with this film, just initially?
Well, initially, going into this totally blind, the first, I'd say like 10 to 15, maybe 20 minutes.
Right.
I kind of already knew what was going to happen.
You think?
I kind of was just like, oh my god, like this is really how we're going.
Let's go into it. I always like to start off with positives. I don't want to get into the negatives just yet, even though there are some big things we have to talk about. Ali Wong and Randall Park, I think together they have great comedic timing, especially I feel like with other characters in the film, maybe more so than each other. A lot of the times, though, I will say, I felt like they were just reading lines back and forth. I don't know if you got that feeling. It felt very rehearsed, and I feel like I shouldn't be saying that in a movie. We talked about a little bit earlier how Ali Wong, she's a stand-up comic, right? I feel like, I could be wrong, but that's basically what I identify her as. I feel like a lot of the time they were just reading jokes.
Does it get tiring doing that?
My work? Yeah, I love it.
No, your phone voice.
My what?
You know, that voice you use on the phone.
Brilliant, excellent as always. Ta-ta, Julian.
Okay, first of all, you sound like Count Chocula. And that's very rude, Marcus, especially considering I'm the customer paying you money.
It's just funny because I know it's not you, that voice.
Well, you haven't known me for a very long time. And P.S., have you seen yourself in those coveralls? You look like a homeless astronaut.
Kind of like a stand-up comic just reading out their lines to a crowd. I didn't really feel like there was that much chemistry between the two. Both of them are funny and they have their moments, but together I question how that worked out in this film.
Yeah, and I'd touch more about that like with the negatives too.
A great supporting cast, I think, overall in this film. I think, honestly, and I'm just going to say, I think they were funnier than the main cast at times. I thought a lot of the side characters, especially Ali Wong, has, I believe her name is Vivian Bang. She's her assistant throughout the film.
I kept saying gooby.
Yeah, you did.
I was spiraling.
You got a little sweat on your top lip.
She's gonna fire me, isn't she?
No, she'd make me do it.
She was actually funnier than Ali Wong was in this movie. And Randall Park has the band that he's with. And Karen Sony, who, if you don't know, he was actually in Deadpool. He was the cab driver in Deadpool.
Marcus, this is just like when you refused to try cold brew because you'd never heard of it. And then it took a year of me convincing you to try it, and then what happened? Huh? What do you love now?
Cold brew.
cold brew.
He always cracks me up. I think he's a hilarious guy. And he's in a lot of other movies, too. I feel like the interactions with them and just that overall side cast is actually funnier than the main cast overall.
I feel like the main cast, them together, their jokes fell flat, and it seemed very unauthentic. In a way.
So let's talk about the star of the movie. And we're not talking about Ali Wong. We're not talking about Randall Park. We're going to talk about Keanu Reeves, who comes into this movie and plays himself.
Oh my god! The icky guy is Keanu Reeves.
Hey, boo.
I did not expect that at all when I watched this movie. And oh my God, did he deliver on every level of this film. That scene, it's hard to tell if he's actually acting or if he's just being himself. If you want to talk about blurring the lines, Keanu Reeves did it, man. And just his whole interaction is fantastic. And he plays off everybody. I mean, you would expect that from such a seasoned actor like him, but he does it great, especially him and Randall Park. They really have a great back and forth with one another in this film. We have to touch about why Keanu is so brilliant in this film. So essentially, Ali Wong suggests to Randall Park that they're going to go on a double date, right? They're going to go on to this fancy restaurant, and Ali wants to introduce Randall to her boyfriend, right? She has a new boyfriend. She wants to introduce him. No sooner do we realize it's Keanu Reeves. Walks in, has this great nice guy like entrance. He's wearing glasses that are just frames. There's no lenses in the glasses. He's just wearing them because I'm studying for a role, so I'm wearing glasses.
I didn't know you wore glasses.
Oh, I don't. My eyes are perfect. This is for a part. They don't even have lenses in them. See?
Well.
And what occurs here is just great. They go to this super crazy hipster restaurant, and they ask him if he wants to hear his food before he eats it.
Hey, may I ask, do you have any dishes that play with time? The concept of time?
Yes. We have a meat course of venison sous vide. Comes with headphones so you can hear the sound of the exact animal you are about to consume, illustrating nature's life-to-death cycle.
And Keanu Reeves has headphones on, and he's sitting there, and he's literally crying as he's eating his food, as he hears the animal dying that he's eating.
I'm sorry.
He has literal tears coming down his face. It was the stupidest thing. He's such an asshole, but he's a nice asshole.
Saying I had to get some air was just a charade.
Oh, you didn't even give me a chance to fight you for it.
It's $6,400. Less than a residual paycheck for my hit movie Speed. But a little out of your ballpark. But it's okay. Thank you.
Go back to his apartment. He has like this fancy apartment where they're playing Alice in Chains in the background, which was the most random thing. I don't know where this movie's going with this. He literally goes back to the apartment and they start playing a game of, it's like Truth or Dare that they play?
Yeah, it was like a Truth or Dare or
something like that. Whatever game they're playing.
It wasn't like any dares.
You know, the stunt coordinator for John Wick taught me this game he invented. It's called Vicebreaker. It's like Truth or Dare, but a little more apocalyptic.
Sure you don't want to play charades?
I heard that.
Keanu Reeves tells Randall Park, he's like, punch me.
God damn it! Yeah! Feeling better? Want another go? Henry? Yeah!
Stop it!
Go to sleep.
And he's like, oh, great. And he punches him.
Hit me.
And he cracks over a vase. He's like, take that vase and crack it over my head.
Smash that vase on your head.
What? This vase?
Yeah.
No problem.
Whoa. Jesus Christ.
Oh my god, you're bleeding.
You see how easy that was, Marcus? You see how easy that was? I never cower in the face of danger.
Come on, get this out of here. I don't know, man. I don't know where this scene came from. I don't know why it doesn't fit in this movie, which we're going to talk about a little bit, but I'm glad I saw it. That's all I have to say. If you're going to watch this movie, you got to watch it for that scene alone. That's what this was made. I think there is some good groundwork for this movie. There's a potentially good story here of like having love, losing it, then rediscovering it again. I think there's something to be said for that. And, you know, having someone you've known your whole life and kindling that relationship. Again, I think there's a groundwork here. Is this movie successful in that? I don't think so, but I think there's something to the story that could be, you know, somewhat enjoyable if it was executed a little better. And the last thing I'll say as far as positives, I thought Randall's Park songs were kind of catchy. The bounce back song with the tennis ball, gotta admit it was a little catchy. I'm not gonna lie. I'm like, all right, that's not so bad.
From the Gucci pills down to the Gucci pot. In other words, I'm rich and I'm living in a mansion, hanging with Ted Sarandos and Ted Danson. Bounce back like a tennis ball.
And then the end movie had the best like closing credit scene. Again, we had to give it to Keanu Reeves. He literally talks about a time he like fought Keanu Reeves. All right, that's a good song. I don't know why. I enjoyed it. Yeah, it's corny, it's cheesy, but it was fine for me. Going into the negatives. Now, John, when we watch rom-coms, there's things I look for. And in order for a rom-com to be good, in my opinion, is you have to have chemistry between the leads. If you don't have that chemistry or that likability, if one of them at least has to be likable, if that doesn't work or doesn't come through, I feel like the rom-com's a failure. And in my opinion, this movie does that just right, because I get both leads to me came across incredibly unlikable.
Yeah, it seemed like they almost mailed it in or something.
Not even that. Ali Wong is Sasha. Her character's unlikable. She's a bitch. I hate to say it, but throughout the whole movie, she's a bitch. You know, to some extent, when you see a character like that, you want to be like, okay, I understand where they're coming from, but I don't at all. Like, you know, it's no give and take. It's just me, and what I want to do with my life. And then you have Randall Park as Marcus. I didn't like him because he was just, his mother died, which I get is a terrible, traumatic experience. Totally understand that. You know, he's afraid to move on with his life. That's why he's using staying with his father as an excuse. Overall, though, he just comes across lazy and dumb. That's really what it comes across to me. I didn't like them. I didn't feel bad for them in any of the choices. When they broke up, I'm like, good. Get over with, you know? They shouldn't have been together. I think their chemistry worked better as friends than it did as a romantic couple. Like, throughout the whole movie, I didn't sit there going, man, I hope they end up together. Because, honestly, I didn't really care because I didn't like either of them. And in a way, it felt like they were kind of toxic for each other, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, throughout like the whole movie, just watching it, I think it all can be summed up in that one scene where they go to Burger King after they have sex.
Yeah.
I feel like the whole time I'm watching it, it's like the way that they feel when they went into Burger King.
Ow. Oh.
Sorry, I was...
You don't have to do any of that, Marcus.
Cool, okay.
You're being really weird.
It is. It's cringe.
I'm not being
and
weird. You're being weird.
Part of that becomes with we're told constantly how they've known each other their whole lives, how they've been together, how you know they've been there for everyone. I don't know if it was just me, but I didn't get that much backstory on the relationship. I didn't actually see those building blocks to see how close they really were. I mean, granted, we got a couple scenes like early on, but it wasn't enough for me to really feel like, oh man, they really truly belong together. Their whole like thing is that, oh, we're supposed to be together because we've known each other forever and we know each other better than anybody else. That never came across to me throughout this film. I'm sorry, it never did.
Well, also the whole ending plot where he buys the restaurant to name it after his mother.
Yeah.
I feel like they didn't show enough of like her spending time with his mom or anything. It was kind of just, hey, let's throw in these couple scenes where she comes over for dinner.
It's too thin. The plot's too thin as far as that. Those building blocks, I needed more to really be convinced by that. The movie just doesn't spend enough time, so in that regard, the characters are just flat, and I just see them as they are in the present. I don't have anything else to base them on to, you know, be engaged with them. And part of that also is this movie has a very uneven tone. And a part of that, as fortunately, is even though it's the best scene in the movie, the Keanu Reeves scene makes no sense in this movie whatsoever. When that scene happens, I literally felt like it was for a different movie. It didn't feel attached at all. Like, for the most part, I feel like we were pretty grounded in reality as far as this movie. There wasn't really anything too over the top. But as soon as that scene came, it, like, shot off into, like, a hijinks kind of, like, crazy comedy. It didn't work. It's a good scene. I like the scene and I enjoy it, but it doesn't fit in this movie. It feels like it was from something else and they just put it in this film. It doesn't work in my opinion. Again, not that I don't like it. I want to preface that. Not that I don't like the scene, because I think it's great. But if I were to recommend this to anybody, I'd say just watch that scene and don't watch the rest of the movie, because you get enough information, I feel like, just in that scene that you don't need to watch the rest of the movie.
You could also see, though, too, like, the way that they're both looking for, like, new love, even between him and his new so-called girlfriend when they go on the double date, even their connection and relationship is very off-putting and just weird. Like, there's no chemistry throughout this whole movie of anybody.
No, and that's
maybe Keanu and himself.
Keanu and himself have chemistry. That's fantastic.
But that's about it. Great. Like, that's all that there is.
Yeah, and it's like you said earlier, I think one of the first things you actually touched upon is it's just typical rom-com structure, right? You know, they're gonna meet each other, they're gonna break up, and then they're gonna get back together in the end. And while that's fine and dandy, I don't have necessarily anything wrong with that. A movie we previously talked about, actually the first movie in the series we talked about, was Bridget Jones. And that follows the typical rom-com structure for sure, but it exceeded at it. It did it well. This movie doesn't do it well overall and doesn't add anything new. If it at least did it well, then I'd be like, okay, you know, I can look over not adding anything, but it just didn't do anything for me, unfortunately. It doesn't work. So I think we're at that point where we're going to give our final scores. I'm going to give Always Be My Maybe a D-.
Now I know what it feels like to be completely starstruck.
The only stars that matter are the ones you look at when you dream.
Thank you.
I didn't like this film. I couldn't. I found the characters appalling. While I think the actors themselves are fine and there are some comedic moments. It's like I kind of hinted at earlier. If you're going to watch this movie, go on YouTube, look up the Keanu Reeves scene from Always Be My Maybe. Just watch that. You're good. There's nothing else to watch. There's nothing else of substance I would recommend really to watching this film. To me, what makes me wonder with Netflix, like there's always that thought of, do they just churn out movies and whatever they make is what they make? I feel like this is kind of an example of that. There might be like one or two good scenes that come from like that churning on a streaming service, but this movie's overall, honestly, this movie's a skip for me. Just look up that one scene though. I promise you won't be disappointed. John, where you stand with this film?
I give this film a D.
See, that right there is what it's all about. Laboring in obscurity. Starving and struggling. The man who embraces his mediocre nothingness shines greater than any.
I feel like if you're going to give me a rom-com, it should have romantic stuff. We lacked that comedy in this movie. Wasn't there for me, and I felt like that's why it gets a D. The only reason it really gets a D instead of an F is Keanu Reeves' appearance.
That's me too.
Other than that, throw this movie out.
No, it's a shame. Like I said, I couldn't find enough that I really wanted to like in this movie. I think Ali Wong and Randall Park, I think they're funny people. You know, maybe a stronger script and something more to their ability would be more interesting. Again, I've seen Randall Park do great things, and I think he has a great potential. I'm not even saying Ali Wong doesn't. I haven't really seen her in much. You know, maybe she's just waiting for that role. I don't know where it's coming from, but again, we can all agree Keanu Reeves steals the show. They should have just called this Keanu Reeves rom-com.
Call me Keanu.
You know what? Just make a short film and keep that scene. That's fine. That's all they needed. They didn't need the rest of this film. Skip it if you can. Not a recommend. Even if it's on your Netflix, just go past it. I promise you're not missing much. So, John, where can the people find us at home?
You can find us over on YouTube. The Real Movie Guys on YouTube. Go over there. Subscribe. Like this video if you enjoyed it. Tell us what you thought about this movie if you saw it. Are you ever going to see it? You can also find us over on Twitter, at The Real Movie Guy on Twitter. Tell us your opinion over there. Follow us. You could also follow us on Instagram, and we're also on Facebook. You can also listen to us on many podcasting platforms such as...
Yes, for your listening pleasure. We are also available in podcast form at iTunes, Spotify, Anchor, Google Podcast, Overcast, Breaker, Radio Public, and Pocket Casts. Be sure to give us a listen any of those fine places. If you already are right now, hey, greatly appreciate it. Just search out Real Movie Guys. We should pop right up. Thank you again all so much for joining us for this episode of The Real Review. My name's Kevin. That guy over there, he's John. We are your Real Movie Guys. Real guys, real movies, real thoughts. And don't forget, love is in the air as the real season of love continues. We'll catch you next time.
I like to listen to my food before I eat it.